The Cod by Dasponi. Chapter 1. Celestia's sun was heralding a new day as a little orange Pegasus filly was making her way towards the outskirts of the village known as Ponyville. This wasn't just any day, though, and she wasn't any other Pegasus filly. She was Scootaloo, Cutemar Crusader Extraordinaire. She had decided she was an extraordinary Cutemar Crusader, even if she didn't have her Cutemark. It didn't make her any less extraordinary. She was definitely extraordinary at riding a scooter, which she proved to herself by weaving in a pattern across the road she was riding on. The day itself was one known as Hearts and Hooves Day. It was a day when ponies celebrated love in all its forms. A romantic love was the one that seemed to be celebrated the most. The love between family and friends was also recognized. Last Hearts and Hooves Day, Scootaloo, as well as the other Cutemar Crusaders, Albloom and Sweetbell, had given their teacher, Miss Cheerily, a card. To call it a card, though, would have been a bit of an understatement, as it was larger than all the three fillies put together. Even though there were some other mishaps that day, involving love poison, that little incident had taught Scootaloo to always read the fine print, and Albloom's big brother, Big Macintosh, and Miss Cheerily, Scootaloo felt the day overall wasn't too bad. At least Miss Cheerily had liked her first present, and she hadn't punished them too badly over the incident. Scootaloo even saw Big Mac, as he was usually called, and Miss Cheerily wandering together at times, and felt that maybe what they planned that day had worked after all. This year she had a different present, or a different pony in mind. It was a card, albeit a much smaller one that was small enough to be tucked delicately into her helmet. She needed a little bit of help delivering it, however. That was why she had come so far out of Ponyville. The pony she was looking for to help her didn't live exactly in town. She lived near the Everfree Forest. Scootaloo sometimes wondered just why she lived there when she seemed so afraid of the forest. But she guessed that Fluttershy had her reasons. It was probably due to all the animals she was taking care of. Some of them probably came from the forest and would need to go back there eventually. Not everything in the forest was as dangerous as Cockatrice, Timberwolf, or Nursa Minor, or Major. There had to be some regular creatures in there somewhere, surely. Scootaloo was snapped out of her train of thought as she came to the bridge leading to the cottage, and to the Pegasus she had been looking for. She quickly scooted across it and made her way to the front door of the cottage. She set her scooter down against the cottage before knocking on the front door. The door was opened a few seconds later by a yellow Pegasus with a pink mane. She looked around for a visitor, but didn't spot her until she looked down.
"Oh, it's you, Scootaloo,"
she said, smiling at the little filly.
"What are you doing here so early?"
Scootaloo steeled herself before replying.
"Oh, hey, Fluttershy. I know it's early, but I was hoping you could help me with something,"
she said with mock bravado, trying to mask her nerves.
"Why don't you come in and tell me about it?"
Fluttershy asked, opening the door for Scootaloo to come in. While Scootaloo went inside and sat down, Fluttershy went to her kitchen and made herself a cup of tea. She also prepared a cup of hot chocolate for Scootaloo. She returned to her living room with a tray in her teeth and set it down on the table next to the couch Scootaloo had sat on. Fluttershy pulled up a chair and sat down before motioning for Scootaloo to take her drink.
"Thank you, Miss Fluttershy,"
Scootaloo said politely, as she took the drink and sipped at it. It doesn't help to be rude to the pony who was a major part of your plans. Plus, she had grown quite fond of Fluttershy after she had saved her and the other Crusaders from the Cockatrice in the forest. Scootaloo sighed and smiled as she drank the hot chocolate. It was cold outside, what with it being so early in the morning, and even though riding her scooter had warmed her up, she was grateful for a little extra warmth.
"Just Fluttershy is fine, thanks."
Fluttershy corrected her, taking a sip of her tea.
"Now, what did you want my help with?"
Scootaloo relaxed some more as she pulled off her helmet, the enveloped card she had put there falling out and on the table.
"That,"
Scootaloo simply said, pointing a hoof towards the envelope. Fluttershy picked it up and turned it over in her hoofs. She put it back down when she saw the name on the envelope.
It's not for me, though, is it?
Fluttershy asked. Scootaloo shook her head in reply.
So, whatever do you need my help with? Do you want me to take it to her for you? Not really.
Scootaloo said, shaking her head and shifting uncomfortably in her seat.
I want to take it myself. I know she lives, it's just...
She trailed off, flapping her small wings. Even though little Pegasus had wings, but she couldn't fly just yet. The best she could do was hover an inch or so off the ground. She mostly used her wings to pick up speed on a scooter. It was fast and thrilling, but not the same.
I see.
Fluttershy said, quickly realizing what the problem was.
So, you want a lift, shall we say?
She asked, laughing softly at her little joke. Scootaloo smiled back nervously and nodded her head.
All right, then.
Fluttershy said, getting up.
Just give me a second. I want to get something myself before we head out.
With that, she walked up the stairs to her bedroom and returned a few seconds later with an envelope of her own in her mouth. She walked towards the door of the cottage and motioned for Scootaloo to follow her. When they were outside, she spread her wings and waited while Scootaloo put her helmet back on. The cat stayed secure underneath it and jumped onto her back and settled in so she wouldn't fall off mid-flight. When she was sure that Scootaloo was safe and secure, and Scootaloo had told her as much, she took off. Scootaloo had ridden on Rainbow Dash before. Riding on Fluttershy was a different experience. While Rainbow Dash was fast and exciting, Fluttershy was slow and graceful.
This does feel different,
Scootaloo thought to herself.
but not worse.
Fluttershy was flying even more careful than usual with a passenger on her back. This was because she wanted Scootaloo to be safe and because of the weight of the little filly. She had pulled carts and carried a critter occasionally, but carrying a full-sized filly on her back was not something she was used to. She had to admit it felt nice, though. It also helped to carry a passenger who was able to appreciate and enjoy the experience. Normally when she was carrying critters, especially when she was using a cart, it was tough to control them. They would get scared and try to jump out, or just become so afraid she had to comfort them every so often, or try especially hard to get them out at the end of the trip. Scootaloo had no such fears, though, and Fluttershy could hear her oohing and eyeing as she took in the sky around them.
Didn't you fly with Rainbow Dash before?
Fluttershy tilted her head and asked the filly, careful not to drop the card in her mouth.
Yeah,
Scootaloo replied, careful to not fall off.
but she just goes so fast that I never really got to look around and see everything. Plus, I still love the view. I can't wait until I can see it anytime I want.
She added.
Well, I'm sure it won't be too long.
Fluttershy nodded as she spoke.
For now, enjoy the ride. Of course!
Scootaloo said, grinning. The flight took a little over 20 minutes, but soon enough the pair were outside of the Cloud House. Well, Cloud Mansion seemed like a more accurate description. The architecture was as grand in scale as the house itself. Tall columns rose high into the sky, that is to say higher, at least, as the home was already situated in the sky. There was even a small rainbow fountain on the side that no one was quite sure of the origins of but its owner. There were tales ranging from an elaborate theft from the Rainbow Factory to a very simple story where Rainbow Dash had simply paid for the rainbow liquid out of her Weather Patrol wages. Well, this was the most likely way the liquid had been obtained, and record kept in the Weather Factory proved this to be true. Rainbow had enjoyed the more grand exploits and had been known to encourage them and act like she couldn't talk about how she got it, lest she incriminate herself. Fluttershy hovered when they got to the door and allowed Scootaloo to use her hoof to knock on the door. With it being a door made of cloud, not much sound was produced. The door did slowly open, however, and Fluttershy tentatively hovered inside. She lowered down onto the floor and leaned forward towards the ground to allow Scootaloo to jump off safely. When Scootaloo was down, she looked around, taking in the home of Rainbow Dash. It was sparsely decorated for the most part, with mostly furniture being found. She did spot some Wonderbolt's paraphernalia, though, including several figurines of Rainbow Dash's idols. Pegasus herself wasn't anywhere to be found, though.
Dash?
Fluttershy called softly, as she laid her card on the table she saw. When she didn't get an answer, she looked around until she found some stairs leading to another floor of the home.
Dash, are you home?
She called again, this time up the stairs. When she still didn't get an answer, she gasped as she felt something move under her. She quickly realized it was Scootaloo, though. The villain was heading up the stairs with her envelope in her mouth. Fluttershy dashed over to the table and grabbed her own card before following the little filly upstairs. When they reached the second floor, they quickly looked around and soon found Rainbow Dash's room. They found Rainbow Dash herself, sat at the window and staring out into the sky. She had a sad expression on her face, but they couldn't see it as her back was to them.
Dash?
Fluttershy said, causing the Pegasus to jump.
Did you hear us calling you?
Rainbow turned around slowly, quickly hiding her sad face behind a fake smile.
Oh, it's you, Shy.
She said as she saw the yellow Pegasus.
And a little squirt, too.
She added when she saw Scootaloo. This earned a little giggle from Scootaloo. She didn't really like being called Squirt, but she didn't mind when Dash said it. She liked the thought that Dash had a pet name for her.
What's up?
She asked with a mock bravado similar to the one shown by Scootaloo at Fluttershy's cottage.
Well,
Scootaloo began, taking a deep breath as the envelope fell out of her mouth, and preparing to say a lot of things very quickly. Fluttershy cut her off, though, and placed a hoof in front of her to silence her.
what's wrong, Dash?
Fluttershy asked the blue Pegasus, placing her envelope on the bed. Fluttershy had known Dash longer than just about anybody and knew when her friend was hiding something, especially when that something was sadness. She didn't want the rest of the world to see.
What do you mean, Fluttershy? She looks just as awesome as ever.
Scootaloo asked, confused. She hadn't picked up on the subtle things that Fluttershy had.
Yeah, Shy, I'm just as awesome as ever. Nothing's wrong.
She said, ruffling Scootaloo's mane in approval. Scootaloo let out a slight squeak and her face lit up at the touch. Fluttershy simply sighed in resignation.
Well, anyway.
Fluttershy said, deciding to change the subject. She would find out the truth sooner or later, though, she told herself.
Scootaloo here asked me to bring her up to see you. She says she has something for you.
She finished, nudging Scootaloo. Scootaloo snapped out of her blissful daydream and picked up the envelope, holding it out to Rainbow Dash. Rainbow carefully opened the envelope and out dropped a small card, as well as an abundance of loose glitter. The card fell to the floor, and when Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy looked down at it, they gasped in surprise. It was clearly a hoof-made card. The color matched the little filly's coat, too. The real surprise was what Scootaloo had drawn on the front. It was a picture of a heart, colored delicately in a rainbow pattern, and in the center of the heart was Rainbow Dash with Scootaloo riding on her back, cheering with excitement. There was also a rainbow trail behind Dash that was connected to the heart on the card. It was a picture of Scootaloo riding on Rainbow Dash as she performed a sonic rain boom, the rain boom itself forming a heart. Fluttershy started to tear up a little, and Rainbow Dash would have joined her, but she kept her emotions in check once more. Scootaloo shifted nervously and opened the card so that Rainbow Dash could read what she had written inside.
To Rainbow Dash, you're the bestest big sister ever. I love you. Squirt.
The message inside the card was written in crude hoof writing, but it still made Fluttershy cry harder. Rainbow Dash quickly grabbed Scootaloo in her hooves and held her close for a bone-shattering hug. As happy as she was about the hug, Scootaloo didn't catch the real reason Dash had grabbed her quite so quickly, knocked her quite so hard. Tears were starting to fall down her cheek, and she didn't want Scootaloo to see them. She didn't mind Fluttershy seeing them so much, but she still didn't like crying in front of other ponies.
You feel better now?
Fluttershy quietly whispered into Dash's ear. Dash nodded silently and kept hugging Scootaloo for a little longer. Dash didn't cry for very long, and as Fluttershy quickly wiped away the tears. She was used to her friend's quirks and knew how to handle her. She eventually let go of Scootaloo. Scootaloo was a little disappointed, but also slightly happy to be able to breathe properly again.
Can you be here for a second, Fluttershy? There's something I have to do.
Rainbow Dash asked. Fluttershy nodded, knowing that when Dash used her full name, it had to be something serious.
Aw, are you going somewhere?
Scootaloo asked, disappointed.
That's right, Squirt.
Dash said, causing Scootaloo's pout to grow.
But you're coming with me.
She added, causing the field to squeak again. Rainbow Dash picked Scootaloo up in her mouth and tossed her onto her back.
Hold on tight, Squirt. Real tight.
Rainbow Dash said. Scootaloo held herself as close to Rainbow Dash as she could, and she quickly took off and soared out the window.
Come back soon.
Fluttershy thought to herself, staring at the card she had brought, still laid on the bed. Rainbow Dash was written on the envelope. Fluttershy was thinking about how to hand the card over when she was suddenly snapped out of her thoughts by two very loud sounds. One was the sound caused by a sonic rain boom. The other was a sound made by a small orange Pegasus filly who was screaming a mixture of excitement, happiness, and a small bit of fear. Chapter 2. The Other Letter. The screams lasted for a few minutes before stopping. Not long after they had stopped, Rainbow Dash quickly bolted back inside the house, let the orange filly slide off of her onto the bed. When she saw them come in, Fluttershy rushed over to the bed, worried what might have happened to the pair. She relaxed when she saw that Scootaloo was still breathing and seemed to be sleeping.
What happened?
Fluttershy asked, still slightly concerned.
It's nothing really.
Rainbow Dash reassured her, placing a hoof on her shoulder.
She just got a little too excited, and I think she may have passed out.
She looked down at the little form resting on her bed.
I brought her in quickly before she fell off or something. At least she had a good laugh, right? Right.
Fluttershy said with a smile. She kept looking down at Scootaloo and up at Rainbow Dash's hoof on her shoulder. Dash didn't notice her, though, and was mostly watching Scootaloo sleep softly.
I think she could do with a sleep anyway.
Fluttershy said after a few seconds of silence.
She was up pretty early. She really wanted to come here and see you. What were you doing up that early anyway, Shy?
Rainbow asked her.
Don't tell me the squirt woke you up. Not at all.
Fluttershy replied, lowering her gaze to not look Rainbow Dash in the face.
I had some trouble sleeping. I had something on my mind, though I get up pretty early anyway.
She added.
I would have been up early anyway when she turned up. Hey, Shy?
Rainbow Dash asked. Fluttershy slowly lifted her head back up and tried to keep her expression neutral.
What's bothering you? It's nothing.
Fluttershy managed to say at last. She moved along the bed to get a close look at Scootaloo.
She looks so peaceful, doesn't she? You really made her happy today, Dash. Yeah, I guess I did, didn't I?
Rainbow responded, moving to get a close look herself. Scootaloo still had a massive smile on her face from what she had done with Rainbow Dash, and the pleasant dreams she was experiencing, caused in part by how happy she was when she fainted.
You think maybe I could do the same for you?
She asked Fluttershy, who continued to focus on her hooves and play with the cloud floor casually. Rainbow Dash was starting to get impatient when she noticed something in the corner of her eye. It was another envelope, this one different from the one that Scootaloo had given her. She briefly remembered Fluttershy bringing an envelope of her own in.
This wouldn't have anything to do with it, would it?
She asked Fluttershy, and she grabbed the envelope in her hooves. Fluttershy saw the envelope, made a sound that sounded like Eve, and nodded slowly. Rainbow Dash was about to ask who it was for when she turned it over and noticed her own name on the back. Curious, she opened the envelope. A similar card fell out and onto the bed. It was also Hoofmate, but better quality than the one Scootaloo had given her. On the front was a photo of Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy together. She couldn't remember somepony ever taking their picture, though. And a hard design. Looking closer at the picture, she saw that the two of them were wearing the dresses they had worn for the royal wedding, and assumed it must have been taken back then. When she opened the card, a piece of parchment fell out. Rainbow left it for now, and looked instead at what was written on the card.
See, Rainbow Dash. Everything is in the
It-
letter. Oh, sorry. Everything is in the letter. Love, Fluttershy.
Rainbow placed the card down slowly and unfurled the letter. She looked briefly at Fluttershy, who was trying to do anything but look at Rainbow Dash before reading.
To Rainbow Dash. It's Hearts and Hooves Day, so I guess this is best to do this kind of thing, right? I would wonder where to start, but I guess I already have started, haven't I? Oh dear. I mustn't ramble and lay out all my thoughts in this. Isn't that what I was going to do, though? Yes. Yes, it is. But my thoughts about you, Rainbow. Not just random thoughts in my head. I suppose it all started back when you first raced those guys in flight school. It was the nicest thing any pony has ever done for me. If it wasn't for you, I don't know where I'd be or what I'd be doing. I really didn't know you back then, but you were still so willing to help me out and be there for me. I admired you from afar, which I guess is kind of easy, given how you fly so much faster than me. You never really left me behind, though, and I hope you never do. Keep flying high, Rainbow, but please never fly so high that I can't keep up with you. I want to stay with you, even if it's just to cheer you on from behind. I'll always be there, Rainbow, whether you can see me or not, whether you can hear me or not. Just look harder, listen harder, and you'll find me right where I've always been, admiring you from afar, but not too far. I love you, Rainbow Dash. I just thought you should know. Fluttershy. Hey, Fluttershy!
Rainbow Dash said when she had finished reading and put the letter back down. Fluttershy looked up, but was quickly tackled to the ground by Rainbow Dash, who had jumped straight over the bed. She quickly pet Fluttershy on the cheek before Fluttershy could react.
Think fast!
Fluttershy was certainly thinking fast. Mine was a myriad of thoughts, most of them dedicated to the last few seconds. About what Rainbow Dash had said, about what she had done. She tried to put it all together, but her mind was just all over the place and she couldn't quite think straight.
What?
She managed to say at last, proving she also couldn't articulate her thoughts just right either. She was beyond confused, but a blush was still forming on her cheeks.
I've always seen you there, Shy.
Rainbow said, softly nuzzling Fluttershy.
If it weren't for you being there, I might not be so awesome. Hey, if it wasn't for that race at flight school, I might have never even done a sonic rainbow.
She thought out loud.
Even if you are quiet, I can always hear you.
Rainbow added, nuzzling Fluttershy again. Fluttershy was content to just enjoy the moment, but a thought struck her.
Now you know what's been bothering me.
She said, looking at Rainbow sternly.
What was up with you earlier when we came in? I know you, Rainbow. I know when you're hiding something.
Rainbow Dash faltered under the look, and she frowned as she hid her face in Fluttershy's coat. She mumbled something indistinct.
What did you say?
Fluttershy asked.
I said it was a bit lonely is all.
Rainbow repeated, separating her face from Fluttershy's coat. Fluttershy patted the top of her head, which slightly annoyed the blue Pegasus, and pulled her head back onto her coat.
I thought that was it.
She said with a smile.
Is that why you started crying when you saw her card?
Fluttershy asked.
I don't remember crying.
Rainbow Dash said, clear reluctance to discuss the matter. Fluttershy tapped her playfully on the ear.
That's funny.
Fluttershy said.
I remember wiping away a certain somepony's tears before Scootaloo could see them.
Rainbow Dash sighed, and Fluttershy smiled in victory.
Come on, you can tell me. You know I won't let anybody else know. Scootaloo's asleep too, so it's not like she'll know. Fine.
Rainbow Dash said, sitting up and looking exasperated.
I was feeling pretty sad lately, and I always get kind of lonely around Hearts and Hooves Day, as it is.
She said, rubbing the back of her neck sheepishly.
I've never really got anything on it. It shouldn't bother me, but sometimes it does, you know? When I saw what she had done for me, well, it opened up the gates, I guess. I know how you feel, Rainbow Dash.
Fluttershy said, looking up at Rainbow's eyes.
I never really get anything either, but I never would have expected you to get nothing. It's why I waited so long to finally give you something.
She admitted. Rainbow Dash leaned down and nuzzled her again.
Silly Shy.
She said, patting her softly on the muzzle.
Even if old Cloudsdale had given me something, I'd still have loved that you gave me even more.
Fluttershy blushed at the contact and at what Dash said.
There's still something, though.
Rainbow Dash said, causing Fluttershy's ears to pick up.
Why did you start crying?
She asked, poking Fluttershy in the chest with a hoof.
Oh, well, it was such a sweet gesture. I didn't know it was on there. It was so touching is all. You think anybody would cry at seeing something like that?
Fluttershy said, smiling.
That's it?
Rainbow Dash asked.
Yep, that's it.
Fluttershy said, nuzzling Rainbow Dash.
She's such a sweet little girl, even if she doesn't quite show it. Like a certain Pegasus who also appears to be her idol.
Fluttershy said, and she stabbed Rainbow Dash on the nose. Rainbow Dash giggled, but didn't disagree with what Fluttershy said.
Hey, Dash?
This time it was Rainbow Dash's turn to pick her ears up.
I guess me and Scootaloo, got you just what you wanted, huh? Yeah, just what I wanted. What I needed, actually. I guess.
Rainbow Dash said. She suddenly stood up, which annoyed the yellow Pegasus just a little.
Best day ever!
Rainbow Dash said, and she pumped her right foreleg a little with each word.
For more than one Pegasus, it seems.
Fluttershy added, smiling as she looked down at Scootaloo, who was still sleeping despite Rainbow Dash's recent antics. Rainbow gave a short but quiet laugh.
Looks that way, huh? Hey, Shy?
She asked, snapping Fluttershy out of her stupor.
Aren't you tired? You said you'd been up most of the night. Just a little bit now that you mention it.
Fluttershy replied, failing to stifle a yawn. Rainbow Dash walked over to her and pushed her onto the bed next to Scootaloo.
You need to get some sleep, too.
Rainbow said. She kissed Fluttershy on the cheek again and started to walk out of the bedroom.
Hey, Rainbow.
Fluttershy called softly. Rainbow turned around and looked at her.
Happy Hearts and Hooves Day.
She said, smiling, closing her eyes to drift off to sleep. All her worries had melted away, and sleep took her quickly to give her pleasant dreams of the future with Rainbow Dash.
Happy Hearts and Hooves Day, Fluttershy.
Rainbow replied, thinking about that future together herself.
Must be dreaming about something nice.
The line
Like
over
her
that,
family. You too, Squirt.
she added, taking note of Scootaloo. Rainbow Dash could swear she saw Scootaloo's smile get bigger when she said it.
Must be dreaming about something nice. Like her family.
Rainbow Dash thought to herself as she left the bedroom and the two sleeping Pegasi. Chapter 3. The Epilogue. Scootaloo was indeed dreaming of her family. It was a daydream, instead of an actual dream, however. She had woken up when Rainbow Dash had dived over her and tagged Fluttershy to the ground. She kept her eyes closed and listened to them instead of saying anything. She didn't want to interrupt anything. She was daydreaming about what she felt was her new family. Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash were standing together in the middle of a field, looking up at a cloud. Scootaloo was on the cloud and peeked down at them. The cloud was too low for her to injure herself if she fell as Rainbow Dash and moved it to that precise location while Fluttershy had flown Scootaloo to the top of it. It was a big day for Scootaloo. This was the day she was going to fly.
Come on, Scootaloo!
Rainbow shouted up at her.
You can do it.
Fluttershy added, a little softer, but still encouragingly. Scootaloo gulped, spread his small wings, and jumped off the cloud. She flapped them as hard as she could, and for a few seconds she felt a little slower, but wasn't really flying. She was getting worried, but Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy were still encouraging her. She had her eyes closed and couldn't tell what was happening. But a few seconds later, she heard a very loud cheer come from below. When she opened her eyes, she saw that she was a little above Rainbow Dash, who had moved under her just in case. There was still some air between them, however, and that's when Scootaloo noticed she was flying. She raised her altitude a little as she laughed and landed back on the cloud she had started from. Rainbow Dash and Fluttershy flew up to her and started nuzzling her.
Way to go.
Fluttershy said, with a grin as big as Scootaloo's on her face.
We knew you could do it, Squirt.
Rainbow Dash added. Scootaloo giggled hysterically between two of them, ecstatic that she had everything she had always wanted. In the real world, Scootaloo slowly fell asleep for real, and a dream similar to her daydreams. Except somehow happier. It felt more real, as if she were actually experiencing her future. The end.